Thank you for joining me, and welcome to the channel. My name is Darren, and I'm a Northern BC gamer. This channel discusses tabletop role-playing games, miniature-based role-playing or miniature-based games, and as the channel title would suggest, I am located in Northern British Columbia. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Northern BC Gamer podcast episodes. These will be a very irregular format. I'll have a free night where gaming has been canceled, or I just have the time and the inclination to get on and host a bit of a chat. Tonight, I'm joined by two guests. Catherine, who plays Umbra in our Drift Crashers game, and JJ from the Planning Phase Syndicate X-Wing podcast, who also plays Achilles Troy in our Drift Crashers game. And we're going to sit down and discuss what kind of games they play, what kind of things they enjoy when it comes to games, what gets their interest, and what they're playing at the moment. Welcome to the channel, folks.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite.
I'm glad you guys could hop in. Oh,
Catherine, did we lose you?
are you muted, perhaps? Perhaps she's away from the mic. We'll continue
Yeah,
on,
maybe.
and she
Yeah,
rejoins us when she joins us.
yeah.
All right. Um, so, aside, sorry, JJ, aside from playing Achilles Troy in Drift Crashers, what other kinds of games do you enjoy playing? What kind of things have you played in the past?
Well, actually, I'm actually a very big board gamer. I actually started off very young. I think my very first game that I remember playing was this was back when I was like a little kid living in Manhattan. We happened to find a copy of the Axis and Allies 1942 Spring version at a thrift shop for like $10, and that was like my first introduction into like miniatures gaming. It wasn't really miniatures, but just using that area control. Using figures to go in and control areas and stuff, and rolling dice and stuff. And I must have been like 6 years old at the time, and that really stuck with me. I kind of sort of hovered into the genre. I didn't really go deep into it until I got reintroduced to new board games until like my 20s, and then at that point I started getting heavily into Catan, Ticket to Ride, a lot of other like big games like Twilight Imperium. Cosmic Encounter is definitely one of my favorite games, just because of that dealing aspect that you can do with other people, and then I got introduced into X-Wing, and X-Wing was it took a while for me to actually to get really deep into X-Wing. I was actually very much into Armada at that point.
Okay.
And then once I got into the competitive scene for X-Wing, that just kind of took over, and that's like my main game. But I actually have a very large collection of board games that I play. And recently I got into Lorcana, and I've been playing that quite a bit. That's quite a fun game. I like it a lot.
Okay. They've started that up at our local game store, and while I can't come to our regular board or tabletop miniatures nights most of the time, a lot of our regulars will set up other games on the weekend with me, and I've been watching that little group in our store meeting regularly. It's a small group. There's 8 or 10 of them, I guess, but they've been meeting every week right from day one, and they're quite avid fans. They'll sit and chat about it for an hour or so after their matches, and they seem to be having a lot
Yeah,
of fun. I definitely recognize a few other games that you have mentioned. My son taught me how to play Catan because he discovered
nice.
that when he was in elementary school. One of his friends brought it to a game day at school, and Caleb said, "I want to get this game." And We still, if there's something we want to do, it's like, hey, let's play a game of Catan. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. And my brother and his wife play it, so when
Yeah, I
I go
think
down to visit them, it's nice to be able to do that too.
Yeah, I think right now my favorite version of Catan is the Cities and Nights expansion for the base game. That really adds a lot of good flavor for it. I've had the the pleasure of actually helping demo some of the games, some of the other variants of it at Dice Tower Con for Asmodee. I've done a couple of their conventions there in Florida,
Nice.
and I got to try out the Amazon one and the Game of Thrones version when that first came out as well. And those are really fun variants, which I own. I own both.
Right on. I was looking at the cities and nights just the other day. Catherine, it looks like you've managed to make your way back into the channel.
Hello,
How are you doing tonight?
doing all right.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. So we were just discussing what kind of games you play other than, of course, Starfinder with us. What kind of things interest you?
All kinds of things. I play all sorts of variety of video games and tabletop games. Um, all the gamut. But I prefer RPGs and miniatures and strategy, those sort of things.
That makes sense. That's a lot of the stuff I see you discussing in the various discords we're on. I know you played a lot of Battletech, and you're running a Pathfinder game.
Indeed.
Excellent. How's that game going for you?
It's going all right. If I can wrangle all my players together on any given week, that is the hard part. But when they show up, we get things done.
That sounds familiar.
I can't imagine why.
Uh, yeah, that's it. For those of you watching in the future. That's why the three of us are sitting down having a chat tonight, rather than airing episode 7 of Drift Crashers, which has now been postponed at least twice. Um,
Indeed.
Yeah.
once for an X-wing players draft in a draft league we're all players in, and this week because one of our players was sick, one of them couldn't make it because of work, and we decided to do something a little bit different.
I'm also pretty sure we missed the game, the 2 weeks before that as well.
I think you're right. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
that sounds appropriate. Um, yeah, that sounds like your average everyday role playing game as well. I I often have that issue. It's why my other Starfinder game I run with 6 players, so I can lose up to 2 of them and just keep going.
Yeah.
Indeed. My current AP is with five
So-
players, so
That's not too bad.
I have not yet played with only three, although I did do one session with only one player because it was a completely social encounter thing. I'm like, well, whoever shows up, I'm doing this because I just want to get it done because it had
Yep,
been a
that's all right.
couple weeks delayed already. So it's like, all right, whoever shows up today is doing it. And one player showed up. I'm
Sometimes
like, all
that
right, fine, you're
creates
doing it.
sometimes that creates some really interesting, fun social encounters.
Indeed, he did fine. He got all the stuff he needed. He succeeded.
As long as it wasn't the barbarian.
It was a monk.
That's not bad. They should know how to fight with their
Exactly.
words just as good as they fight with their hands and their feet.
Yeah,
Excellent.
he did all right.
Now,
Excellent.
here's a question for the both of you because the two of you sound like you've played a significant amount of RPGs before,
Yes.
and in different formats. So my previous experience before doing Drift Crashers was doing a single mission for the Star Wars RPG, and that was with my family, with my brother who did that, and then a couple of sessions of D&D. Between all the different formats, what do you guys find is the easiest to learn if you're trying to run it as a GM? Like, what system or format you think is probably the preferred one?
Well, you brought up Star Wars RPG, which makes me have to ask which one?
That was my first thought.
Age of Rebellion, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, the Fantasy Flight ones.
Okay.
And then which D&D did you play?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna guess 5e.
I don't remember. I
How
don't.
recent
I
was it?
would assume so, yeah, because it was
Within
fairly recent.
within the past 10 years?
But
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, 5e.
I'm
yeah,
going to
yeah.
say
It was within the last year. Yeah.
I've using Dungeons and Dragons as an example. Um, of all the versions of Dungeons and Dragons I've played, and it's almost all of them, it is the absolute easiest system for a player to pick up. Hands down, any role playing game I've ever played.
I am
Um,
gonna contest that.
absolutely.
I
Oh, okay.
think actually, the Fantasy Flight Star Wars is actually very easy to pick up because there's
I
very
haven't played that.
minimal mechanic. It there's some creativity needed for the dice interpretation, but as far as the mechanics of the game, I think it's very simple.
Excellent. I stand corrected. I will. I'll take your word on that because I haven't played that version, but I've heard good things about
Indeed, it's a good time.
it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of more creativity built right into the mechanics of the game, as it were.
Hmm.
I'm an old school player where the mechanics were all we had way back in the day, back in 1980. But it's one of the things that I have, over time learned to enjoy more and more and more in games. So that's very cool. I'll have to take a look at it.
Yep, it's definitely it of course puts some requirement on the GM to be reflexive and creative on their toes to come up with whatever those dice will read.
Yeah, yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I think for me, the closest I've ever gotten to like trying to like be that GM, right, for like an RPG is probably like leading like a group to play Heroes of the Atari Cluster. I mean, that's pretty much on rails because you know what missions are coming up and you just gather the group and, play as the AI versus everybody else to force them to work as a team to try to solve those particular missions. And if people don't know what that is, Heroes of Story Cluster is a fan made RPG that was that was created by Josh Dirksen within the X Wing Miniatures game, where you essentially build a pilot up from the ground up. And as they learn experience, they gain points to use to get upgrades and talents and such. Actually, one of my work buddies actually got into X-Wing because we did that first, and then he wanted to play competitively, and I just helped him along his way. Um, but like I've always wanted to like go further, the next step. Like I felt like that was my gateway to becoming like a GM, and I've never attempted to do a D&D campaign of my own. And I would love to learn the Star Wars RPG system for like Age of Rebellion, and kind of go from there.
Maybe we should get Catherine to run a game for us one night.
I am, well, maybe a one shot some point in time. I've
Yeah,
got so much on my plate right now.
I can appreciate that. I'm uh, I'm running. Well, I've got the two online games. I'm running a face-to-face game with my friends once a month. I play X-Wing. I run our local league. Um, I'm sure you guys have just as much. JJ, I know you've got kids. That makes your plate even smaller than ours.
oh yeah.
Plus the
Oh yes,
podcast and
absolutely.
everything else I'm sure you've got going on.
Yeah, it definitely can be challenging from week to week, especially like now, right? I got a lot of my locals here that want to practice their finalists for Worlds,
Mm,
and just trying to get games in to like they'll use me to run some of the medalists against them, so that way they can figure out how their list fares against it. So like just trying to find time to do that in person or in TTS can be challenging, in addition to everything else. So yeah.
no, fair enough. Fair enough. I only have one local going to World, so it's not so bad. I'll get together with Alex every week or two for a few games. I think he
Nice.
gets a lot of his practice online with Andrew and other people that are far better than I am at flag the medalists for him. but at least I give him a little bit of attention. I can fly umpire for him reasonably well. I like the new Sunterfell. Oh my gosh, he was good. He was beautiful. Slippery
Yeah,
little
yeah.
beggar.
I played quite a bit against Soons here. Yeah, it's really good.
I'm really looking forward to Battle of Endor now. And boy, watching a couple of those games today, there's some nice new pieces in there.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good pack. I think that when you have a pack that releases pilots where the majority of pilots are going to be used in one fashion or another, and you're going to see them regularly in different lists, that shows that the design that went into those pilots it was worthwhile and it was good. And I think that's what makes a pack very, very good. I just
I
hope that we
disagree.
get more down the line for. Huh? What's that?
Said I'm going to disagree. Too
Okay.
OP. That's why you're seeing it everywhere.
I
Too
was
strong.
Well, I mean, it's OP until the points are adjusted, right?
Yeah, that's not even possible with their system.
it's difficult.
What do you think is the big negative so far?
They went too far with this pack. Because I mean, the entire thing of with the standard loadouts is they're supposed to be an entry point for newer players. So you're looking for simpler builds that you can also do with existing stuff. These don't accomplish that at all. These are actually some of the most complicated pilots with unique abilities that don't appear anywhere else. But they also, a bunch of them have easy access to double mods or mod plus reposition that you would normally not have access to on that platform. They are very aggressively priced, and of
Yeah,
course, because they're standard loadouts, you don't have two levers of adjustment. You only have one. And
and
for some of them, if you
2.5 has
try to bump
shown
it
that
up,
a
it's probably going to get costed out.
1 point cost is big.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
the the interest I have in them is that, or I guess one of the interesting points I think of in them is that they're not balanced against regular play. They're
No,
balanced
definitely
against the
not.
scenario they're designed to be played in, which I haven't had. I own the other two, Battle of Yavin and Siege of Coruscant. I haven't had opportunity to play them, but I've Alex Oler, one of our locals, has had opportunity to play both of those, and he quite enjoys them. He's hit agrees with the same thing that they're very much designed and priced for those scenarios, and they work really
Mhm.
well in those scenarios. But when you pull them out of the scenarios, sometimes they're a little too effective. A little, again, you only have one level of control on pricing, and 1 point in 2.5 is very big when it comes to ship cost.
Yeah, exactly. The difference of plus or minus one is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make or break.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair assessment. So, if in your eyes, what would make it a good pack?
Well, mm, I think they should have stuck to, of course, simpler designs. Personally, I like the idea of all the new stuff they made, but it would be more interesting if it was not on standard loadouts. Like, cool, give me the new pilot with the fancy ability, great. Price them appropriately and give them a loadout.
Or
But
or just
giving the new fancy pilot ability with new fancy upgrades that don't exist anywhere else is just too much and it's too unwieldy and that makes it hard to properly cost
or just
because
don't
there's not
allow
a
them
one
in
for one
standard
comparison.
play. You set them aside for these are only for playing in the scenarios. They're not
Yeah,
for
there's
standard
that
play.
also. Unfortunately, well, I forget who brought it up. We were having this discussion yesterday or today in the Fox channel. Alexander was probably part of that.
Mhm.
But that idea was brought up, and I was like, yeah, That would probably be great. Unfortunately, if they did that, they probably would not sell these packs.
This is true.
Much,
Do you
Not
think?
as many.
yeah, far fewer would
And
sell.
not to turn this into like an X-wing podcast,
No, no.
but do you
It's a
think
gaming
that?
podcast. It's something that all three of us play and have an interest in. So it's a
Yeah,
hey, what
yeah.
are we playing? This is what we're playing. Let's talk about it a little bit.
So, do
Not
you
what I'm
think
playing
that
these days.
if AMG took a page out of FFG and created like a hyperspace format where they use a restricted list, right? Essentially, these are for a season, right? They would essentially deem certain pilots not standard legal in order to help curb some of that power curve, that power creep. You think that would
That's
make the game
that's what
better?
standard is, though. Standard came from hyperspace. It is that. They just stopped
Right, but
modifying it.
just remember though, like for standard though, it's
There
like
was a
for what
season or two
they
of
essentially
hyperspace.
broaden it to is just for ships that hadn't been reprinted, right? You know, everything that has the quote unquote black box. The major exception of that, of course, would be the Resistance YT 2400 or
Yeah,
yeah
that's what they're kind of
1300.
doing
Sorry.
now.
Yeah.
Right, right. So, but in this particular format, right,
So
for
you're
like this
suggesting
quote
they
unquote
cut
hyperspace.
standard more to go to a hyperspace format.
Make it a little
Yeah, I
more
mean,
gritty.
if there's particular pilots that are like, unwieldy or unbalanced, you can pick and choose those particular pilots and
Oh, you
put
mean a
them on a
ban list?
restricted list for that format.
Restricted, yeah.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
right
There's
because
also the restricted list that they
yeah,
have yet to use.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like that's a
Yeah.
tool that they have been using. That's a lever that they could use. You know.
They should.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Maybe
also, of
somebody from
course, if they
AMG will discover
create
this little
things that are
tiny
just immediately going
podcast.
to go on that list, that's maybe going to hamper sales as well.
Hard to say.
Yeah. That's true.
I'd like to see them rotating some stuff in and out a little bit. I mean, I get their idea of restricting it to what's been released, which would be nice if they'd release ships a little bit more. Just saying. I'm guessing a lot of the slow release is going to have to do with their designing of the standard loadouts and everything that goes into that. I was thinking about that the other day. Thinking, why haven't they released? You know, they advertised the Starwing almost a year ago now. They haven't said
Yep.
anything about it since then.
Yep.
But But again, if they're designing standard loadouts, I guess that's part of it. Of course, in that set, they only need to design two. There's only two named pilots for that thing.
I mean, I'm waiting for a Battle Jakku pack. I'm waiting for a Battle Dakar pack. You know, get some additional pilots there for Resistance and First Order out there.
Some fresh
Maybe
names.
another prequel pack. You know, that would be really nice to see the other factions there. And
Yep. I'd like
I
to
I,
see
I
some
I
names.
want Scum to get some love somehow somewhere, and I was really hoping that the Children of Mandalore pack was going to bring that, but all they got was a clan training card. That's about
Yeah,
it. So.
yeah. Well, the Pride of Mandalore set, it had some rebel stuff in it, but it was largely scum, was it not?
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking the Gauntlet, maybe, or
Um,
the Hot Shots in
no,
Aegis too.
the I'm sure it was the Pride of Mandalore. I think it was a card pack. Came with had Moff Gideon
Oh,
and
the
two
Fang
two
Fighters and the
Mandalorian.
Gauntlets.
Yeah, the Fang Fighters
Yeah,
and Gauntlets and the Tie Fighters.
yeah,
Um, it was well, like it was half scum, half vampire. But but yeah, I'd love to see Scum get something interesting. You know, even if it's just a
yeah.
card pack themed on Jabba's palace or something like that. Whatever, or Boba Fett's palace.
Yeah.
Now I suppose it is. I suppose we could even discuss TV shows if we want.
I mean, if they do put out more uh, battle campaign scenario packs, so that everyone has broken standard loadouts, then I guess
Yeah.
everything will be even
Yeah,
and
yeah.
awful.
I
But
it's very it's
When everything's broken, nothing is broken. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I disagree,
it'll
but
give them
at
their
least it'll
excuse.
prevent some people from complaining.
It'll give them their excuse to make third edition.
Yeah, right.
No.
It
Exactly.
is a
And then
tactic
all
that
those scenario packs
FFG
are
used
invalid.
at the end of 1.0. FFG broke 1.0 on purpose to see how far it could be stretched before it could be broken, and then worked on second. But wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. There's yeah, that's a different discussion for another podcast channel, I think. I won't go into the whole
So
AMG, FFG, blah, blah, blah debates. Uh,
So
that's
one of the things I'm really
personal.
excited about that's coming out soon is Star Wars Unlimited. That's something that I've been playing around quite a bit, not as much as Lorcana, but I definitely like it a lot. I honestly, my biggest superficial complaint about the game is that the cards don't look nearly as nice as Lorcana, and they're technically
Curious
both
about that.
Disney products. And I'm like, come on, guys! Like you obviously work for the same. You're still under the same publisher, technically, right? You would still have access to a lot of the arts that are available on your other games like Shatterpoint and Armada and stuff. Why couldn't you use some of that art for there? Like some of the cards look okay, yeah, cool, but when you compare the face of how the cards look to what the Lorcana cards look like, I mean, it's night and day. Like, gosh,
I was
completely different.
most curious about the artwork on it. Um, just from somebody who might pick up a pack or two. Our local store is doing a learn to play on the 1st of March, so I may stop down for that because I have that evening off. Um, and I often don't get into card games because I have looked at how much money I've spent on role playing games over the years and the amount of money that I have sitting on my shelf over here, full of X-wing product and a little bit of Armada product, and I don't like to count those numbers. They're scary numbers, uh,
Yeah.
and I know how much money can easily be spent on card games. But I might be curious to go down for the learn to play, just to get an initial card pack and see what it looked like, and see how it plays. But that's a little disappointing
Yeah, I
for you.
had the
You'd think that
I had the opportunity to play Star Wars Unlimited at PAX, and it was actually really fun. I really enjoyed my few games that I was able to run there. Didn't win any of them at all, but I really enjoyed the mechanics of the game. It felt very different to what I played with like Lorcana or like Magic the Gathering and stuff. It definitely is a very dueling game, like 1v1 with two fronts. So I did like those types of mechanics. And that, Catherine, have you had a chance to play either of the games?
No, I don't really play card games much. I've played a few over the years, but they're not really my thing.
it appears JJ went poof.
Yep, there we go.
There you
I
go.
had a blackout there for a second. Yep, there we go.
That's all right. Yeah, I think I played a little bit of Magic the Gathering back when it was first released, and quickly saw my friends spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and decided, yeah, no, that's a bad idea. I was already spending enough money on role playing games. I'm a GM, so as a player, you don't have to spend so much. You get yourself a player's handbook, and that's probably it. Maybe something else, but probably just that. Um, if you get that. These days, a lot of games, you don't even have to get that if you're a player. Most of the rules and all the player facing stuff is available online. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I see it with Starfinder and stuff. I buy the books because of the lore and the background information that you don't get online. Um, but wow, I completely forgot where I was going with this, or where we started. But but the reason I don't get into the card games is just it's money after money. It's the same thing with role playing games. As a GM, it's the amount of money I put out on Starfinder stuff is it's scary.
Astronomical. Yeah.
You guys are playing Adventure Path number 46. 47, 48 is the end of that one. Plus 3 more makes 51. Plus they just released Scoured Star. So 51 adventure paths at $35 each. Plus all the hardcover books and everything else that goes with it, and a whole bunch of maps and the different card decks. Yeah, that's just one game. I've got a whole bunch of other games that I've spent several amounts of money on role playing wise. So it's I gotta curate what I buy these days.
Yeah, that's how I feel about board games, man. I like to collect them, and now I mean, I technically have enough to fill two like shelving units, even though I only own one. And so I have to like put the rest of the collection like a little bit in the closet, a little bit in the couch, a little bit under like one of my tables, and yeah, I gotta curate.
Yep, I can appreciate that. I've my X-wing is it's displayed reasonably nicely. Most of it that's out, so it takes up a little bit more space than it needs to. But I mean that's two bookshelves, and my board games are only a couple of shelves, but my role-playing games are two full bookshelves and a few other
Wow.
boxes that are scattered in a storeroom, and that's been cut down over the years. I've given away a lot of stuff over the years. All my old D&D books. I have a friend who plays second edition D&D, so he got almost all of my second edition stuff because I don't play second edition D&D anymore. I'll
Yeah.
play it, so I kept a player's handbook, but that
Cat
was it. I gave him everything else.
Catherine, what about you? I know you play BattleTech quite a bit. How big is your collection for BattleTech?
Oh, I have a massive collection of everything. As far as Battletech goes, well, I'm up to
Is it
around
larger than next one?
not quite yet. Well, as far as minis go, no. I'm around to like 60 miniatures, I think. I'm 60 max or so.
That's not bad.
I
That's a
also
decent
Okay.
have
amount.
all the rules books and technical readouts and field manuals, lots of physical books from over the decades.
I was going to ask, how long have you been playing BattleTech games?
I got into Battletech around 2003, so 20 years ago.
Okay, okay. And that's only halfway through BattleTech's lifetime. Because I
Correct.
remember
Yeah.
I got BattleTech.
Yeah,
I
it
got
came out
a
in 84.
BattleTech technical manual. I was going to say around 83, 84. It's just
Yep.
before I moved to Prince George, and that was 80. That was 87. So a couple of years before. I didn't play BattleTech. I didn't have any
Wow.
of the other stuff for it. But boy, the pictures were kind of neat, and
Indeed.
it looked really
Uh,
cool.
I love the setting. It's really cool. There's a lot going on. It is really well fleshed out. Lots of novels, especially if you like Stackpole. He does a lot more BattleTech than he does Star Wars. Um, Outside of that, of course, I also have a massive collection of role-playing books from D&D 3.0, 3.5, and also 4th edition. I've got a bunch of World of Darkness books, like
Mm.
Vampire and Changeling and Mage and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I got almost
Uh,
the complete werewolf collection.
yep, Werewolf. Got Mutants and Mastermind stuff. Of course, now I'm getting Pathfinder stuff for 2nd edition. Got a bunch of those already, though mostly PDF these days, so my shelf is not getting more clustered.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one
what
of the
else?
bonuses these days. You don't have to have quite as many of the hard copies anymore. You can
Yeah.
just get the PDFs if you don't mind reading computer screens.
I get a couple hard copies for things that I want to have hand referenceable,
Yeah,
but a lot of stuff can be PDF.
yeah. No,
And
That's
of course,
Awesome.
there's all the Gloomhaven stuff.
yeah, that's got
Oh man,
a lot of
Gloomhaven.
space on a shelf.
Yeah,
I saw the box for the first one in our gaming store. I went, holy crap, that's
Yep.
huge.
The Frosthaven box is even
yeah.
bigger.
I was gonna say, I was just about to ask, isn't the Frosthaven box bigger?
Yep, I got it. I bought that last year at Adepticon. Had Desi take it from the floor to my car. And then when I got home, I had to, like, I went inside, emptied out my suitcase, brought my suitcase back out, put it on top of the box, and then kind of rolled it out. And then I was able to wheel it. But yeah, it was too heavy for me to carry. Way too heavy.
Holy cow! Oh, that's a little bit of stuff. But that's a lot of miniatures and stuff in that, and terrain pieces as well, or just the miniatures?
Uh, no, the miniatures are like there's only like 16 miniatures in there, which are
Oh,
small
okay.
plastic. Those are nothing. It's just all the
Oh, I thought there
cardboard.
was more than that. A lot of
Lots
cardboard.
and lots of cardboard.
Ah, yeah, that gets heavy. Paper is
Yep.
not light.
Yeah, all the
Yeah,
cardboard for
definitely.
all the map tiles plus all the terrain pieces and all the other stuff. Just lots of cardboard.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've got milk crates for when I move, so I can pack up my gaming books in heavy but easily movable things that aren't going to fall apart on me,
Mm-hmm.
because I've got 30
Yeah,
tons of books in it. But
yeah. I when so I moved to North Carolina a year and a half ago, and I had to back up all my X-wing stuff, and I had essentially consolidated the collection that me and my brother had together because we both got into X-wing and Armada, and we each own a bit of both. And then we decided to just completely swap all of our collections. So he has all of my the Armada stuff, and I have all my X-wing stuff. And when I put it into my car to try and transport it from Florida all the way up to North Carolina, it weighed so much that it was bringing down the suspension of my car, like to touch the wheels. And I had to I had to spread it out a bit to distribute the weight because my car could not literally support the weight of all my X-wing stuff. And I'm like, wow, like it's incredible how heavy like the stuff can get really quick.
all the cards and cardboard. Yeah,
Yeah.
and all the cases that you need to carry it in and everything else. I've got a beautiful big case for carrying stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
it weighs 5 6 pounds just the case. So it basically just sits on the bottom shelf for my cardboard, and that's where all my base pieces are and all my extra obstacles and bombs and et cetera, that you never use or use very seldom anyway. But
Yeah.
there's only so much cardboard you can put on the table at one time, and these days you're really only using the same 5 pieces of cardboard in any one faction, maybe 6. I've been enjoying
Yeah,
messing
that's
around with scum
absolutely
lists.
true.
After the tournament in November and the end of the last season of Draft League, I've just been playing Scum. I'm having a lot of fun with them. I haven't touched them in years.
Yeah, I think that there's still lists out there that are waiting to be discovered or fine tuned. I know that my captain Ben Detty, or better known as Jammin,
Yep.
he has a really good scum list that I've been um, playing back and forth with him with a few times because we were together as well in the 312 league last month.
Yep.
And his list is just fantastic. Like on paper, it doesn't seem like it's strong, but when he plays it, wow! Like he surprises me how
What
well.
he put in too.
Please tell me
Yeah,
more.
it's two Fang fighters. It's what is it? Torfun and Cat
Orphan, Cat
Solis,
Solis, Bosk,
Lima Kai,
Lima
Bosk, yeah,
Arlies,
Bossy 95.
and
Yeah,
Dace.
Arlies, and Dace in the Hawk. And it offers a good amount of control. There's a lot of offense in there with those Fang fighters, and it can play objectives very, very well. And Arlise is deceptively good with that ability because you force your opponent to deal with different angles. And if you're not focused firing on Arlise, Arlise can definitely push in some damage.
Is that 5 or 6 ships?
6.
6.
It's 6 ships total. Yeah.
And you've got a little bit of room to fiddle around with things a little bit if you want to swap out the odd piece here and there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've been toying with swapping out Sarasu for one of the Fangs. Thinking about giving her a plasma and an HLC so she's still relevant. Give that extra reroll, or swarm tactics and something else to get both of those flankers up to I5. But
Yeah.
I think the Fangs just hit a little bit harder.
Yeah. And once you get into the fray, they have pretty good defense.
Yeah, yeah. I have to learn to be a little bit more aggressive and just go right in on the front arc on people, because that's just not a habit I have as an Imperial player. Imperial players just tend to explode
Yeah,
when things
exactly.
like that. So.
Oh yeah.
I see that Catherine has drafted a whole new Team Fox by the look of things.
Yep, brand new team.
Nice.
Uh, well, I mean, also draft didn't really give me much of a choice on that.
No, no, that's true. I suppose you had more later round draft picks, didn't you?
I had 1, 2, 4, 4, 4, 7, 7.
Yeah, you lost out
So
on a
that's
lot
not
of
bad
picks by the
having.
time you got to 4.
Yeah. I was gonna say even at round 4, there was still quite a few really, really good players, even going all the way down to the 5th round.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, so I had to make sure I got the best bang with my round 4 picks. I was like, all right, I'm not going to get another pick until 7, so I got to make these 3 count really big. Hopefully I did.
Alex should do pretty good for you. He's pretty strong.
Oh, yeah, I figure he is. I think I've played him before a long time ago.
Um,
Yeah, I think I picked him up in
how
the
many
second
games has
round.
your
I think so.
how many games has your team played so far,
Last I
Catherine?
saw 1. Let me double
Oh,
check.
just a single. Okay.
Yeah, I think the same with my team. I think we lost. Ryan played a game today and he lost,
I know
unfortunately.
there was more being played. Oh, okay, there's another one. We won that one. Cool. All right, so we played 2. We're 2-0.
Well done.
Yeah, no, right now we're 2-1 right now as of my game.
I think we're 0-1. I've got my game tomorrow night.
Nice. What are you playing?
I'm playing Scum
Is it
Salvage
the Empire
against
or?
Resistance. I hate Resistance. I find
Okay.
I already find
Yeah,
Resistance
they're
overpowered as
pretty
it
tough,
is.
man.
I don't think they need a card pack, to be honest. I think Resistance is overpowered already. Just with the point cost system, you should not be able to put 4 X-wings plus anything on the board. Not 4 T-70s plus anything else. Especially when that anything else could basically just be an X-wing with an A-wing dial.
Yeah, exactly.
Their Resistance is my boogeyman.
Yeah, I think that if they got more chassis, which is tough, right? Because there's really nothing else so far in the media for Resistance that shows like any other chassis for them other than the B wing, which God knows when we're ever going to see
Showed
that.
for like
Um,
a half a second
yeah,
in the last
yeah,
one.
exactly. But it also makes me think, right? Like, if you wanted to open a design space and bring new chassis in there, there was quite a bit of ships that technically went to assist the Resistance in the Battle of Exegol.
Yeah,
So maybe you could bring some of the
I
Scum
wouldn't
chassis
I'd wouldn't be
over to Resistance.
surprised if they release a Resistance Eagle. I have a feeling we're going to start seeing that
Hmm.
in any more. release stuff, I think we'll start seeing that a little bit more. I mean, given the fact they even
Yeah, and I
introduced
think
Syndicate
that
in the first place in Ahsoka.
yeah, and I think that once they actually do that and introduce more chassis to the faction, then at that point they can ease off on the pricing, on the aggressive pricing that they have for the X-wings for a lot of those pilots. So that way, hopefully it can lower the power level a little bit, or at least, restrict some of their loadout that they have. Even though their base chassis by itself with no other loadout, it's still really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't need loadout.
no doubt. Hey,
Yeah.
we actually have somebody in the chat, Zekriox, or however you want to pronounce that, because I probably got that wrong. How you doing? You discovered Starfinder recently. Welcome to the Starfinder family. I've been enjoying it for a few years. This is on the channel tonight. We've got Catherine and JJ, who are players in my Drift Crashers game. Welcome to the channel. Good to see somebody in the chat.
Of course,
Welcome.
tonight we're just talking about nonsense that you might not understand.
Yeah, we're hanging out, talking the various games we play, whether it's Starfinder, Pathfinder, Star Wars, X-wing, Star Wars Unlimited, all kinds of
Battletech,
things.
stomp, stomp.
Battletech, that was the other one. I knew there was
Yeah.
something else we mentioned that I wasn't bringing up.
Quit X-wing. Go play BattleTech.
I'm tempted, but
It knows what
the
it's
I gotta
doing.
say,
menus.
if a few things would have gone differently, I probably would have dived into BattleTech and ignore all of Star Wars, honestly, because when I first moved to Orlando in 2003, my brother was actually very big into BattleTech and tried to get me into it for a while. But at that time, I was just getting my bearings, and I was actually starting to get into BattleTech, and then the release of Armada came up, and that just derailed me. So, so you can blame Armada for me not being a BattleTech player right now.
Rip.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Armada is a beautiful, beautiful game.
I know. I
Too
loved
bad.
Armada. I used to play it a lot, but yeah,
Is there online BattleTech?
Um, maybe.
technically yes. Yeah,
Technically,
yeah.
yes. I've been doing a lot of my own things to make it work.
I see. I see. All right. I was just curious. It's a game I'm curious about, but I don't want to spend the money on because then I'd have to paint miniatures, and my eyes are no good for painting anymore. They're horrible. I wear the eye patch for a reason.
Yeah, painting is a hard part.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, they've got the
Or
fancy
I just
LED light magnifying glass lamp, and it doesn't help at all. The
that's why I
headache's
just
still
pay
there.
someone else to do it these days.
Well, yeah, there's that. One of our local game store managers does the painting for our year-end trophies for the league, which reminds me I got to talk to her this week and bring her a miniature to
I'm
paint.
keeping Pim very busy.
Mm. I have one of his TIE fighters. I'm tempted to get her to paint my Blood Bowl team as well and get into Blood Bowl, but that's I was gonna say less of an expenditure of money, but my Blood Bowl team was $160.
Yeah, that's Games Workshop. That's not less.
Yeah, no, but the good news is I buy one team and I'm done because I don't need to buy
Sure.
another team. I'm not that into the game. I say now. Um, but I've also had that team sitting on my shelf since very shortly after the beginning of the plague, and it had like a layer of primer put on it, 2 layers, 3 layers of paint, and that was it on one miniature. Uh, since then, it got put back in its box, and it's sitting on the shelf. Beautiful miniatures, came all the way from Italy, but yeah, I got all the paint and all the brushes, and thought, no, I'll give it a try, see how it goes, and my eyes are bad enough I get headaches when I have to stare at little tiny things anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I've been getting to that point too. Yeah, which is probably why I never got into Legion and or Shatterpoint, just because I would love the concept of it, but like trying to assemble all that stuff and then paint it and do all that, like that's just a step too far for me.
I got the intro Legion stuff. I painted it all up. I've never gotten to play.
I'm was I don't remember who I was. I think I was talking to one of my other locals, Atlee. He plays Legion, and I got to say I'm tempted to play or not pick up the Darth Vader set for Shadowborn, um, just so that I can get it painted up and have Darth Vader and a couple of stormtroopers sit on my shelf and look cool in amongst my X-wing ships. Right now, I'm settling
Yeah.
for little old. I don't even know what they were from. Let me grab one here, if I can reach without my headphones flying off my head. I've got some of
I
these
think
little guys
that's
decorating
kind
my
of like
shelf
my
with.
my secret. Oh, nice.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
See, that's kind of like my favorite part about playing minis too, right? It's just like displaying them. Like
Yeah,
when
they're
when
beautiful.
I was working in an office, I would display like all my X-wing ships or like my Armada ships and just change the diorama like every week or so.
Yep,
And it would like draw attention and people would come and talk about it and stuff, and like it was nice to have that change.
yep. I can appreciate that. I brought my or one of our old local game stores used to be right across the road from my work. So and game night was right after my shift. So instead of go home and get my stuff and then go back to the game store, I just bring my stuff with me. And our regional manager was in one day and he said, "Oh, what's this?" He looked at my bag and he's like, "Holy cow!" Because I used to bring stuff in the original boxes, and I had I must have had Rebels and Empire in there that day because I was going to play with my son. He was going to meet us there, and he got all excited. He says, "Oh, that's really cool! I've got one of these." I don't remember what he said he had. He said, "Yeah, I bought it because I thought it would look really cool on my shelf. I don't play or anything, but he says, "Do you have a Millennium Falcon? I'd love to see that." And a couple of years, well, it was probably the next year on uh, on his birthday. I had it was the end of 1.0 when we transitioned to 2.0. And after Christmas, our local store was clearing out all of their 1.0 stuff. And after Boxing Day, I just walked in and looked at the shelf, wrapped my arms around everything on the shelf, walked over the counter, put it down, said, "I'll just clear all this stuff off your shelf for you." He said, "Excellent. We're giving you the Boxing Day sale. Give him 75% off." So, so I
Wow.
got my regional
Oh,
manager
wow.
a Millennium Falcon for like $10. I said, "Here, have your birthday."
That's amazing.
And when he transferred to Calgary or Edmonton, wherever he transferred to, I gave him my extra Red 5 from the 2.0 set and an A-wing to go with it. And he was over the moon. He's like, "Oh, these look so cool. I can put these up on the display with the other ones." So he was really happy with that. But yeah, I mean, there's people that buy this stuff just to put it on the shelf and look beautiful. I don't do it often, but I
Yeah,
mean, I know.
absolutely.
I mean, it's why I have half the X-wing ships I have. I don't play these factions most of the time. I don't play Resistance. I don't play Rebels. I don't play CIS. But I've got all the ships because they look really, really, really beautiful on my shelf.
Yeah.
But going back to BattleTech, I've always been kind of curious about it because I've played mecha games in the past, role-playing games. I ran a really enjoyable Mechton game years ago. Great system. You design, build your own mecha and everything. But I've never actually sat down and played BattleTech. It's something I've always been a little interested in, especially with the new miniatures and stuff coming out. Because
Indeed,
they've been
Catalyst is doing
beautiful.
a good job putting out new minis and stuff. Did you say you played the MechWarrior role-playing game?
No, Mechton. It's an anime style role-playing game.
Ah, okay, got it. Because there's a
Nice.
BattleTech
Yeah,
RPG called
yeah,
MechWarrior.
MechWarrior. Yeah, it's
I've got
it's
a couple different editions of that book.
yeah. I remember it from back in the day. Some of the guys I went to high school with played.
So I would say it's one of the easiest RPGs to learn, except for the part where you want to go fight in your battle mech and then you have to play Battletech. So at that point, ease of learning stops because you got to learn Battletech.
Yeah, learn something different that's a little bit more complex.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the only RPG systems I've seen where it fully integrates the a miniatures game with the role play.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have talked about like trying to implement a Star Wars role play based on X-wing, but it's like you can't really do that with the way the X-wing system's lined up.
Not really. I mean, as Jay discussed earlier, here's the Aturi cluster. I suppose there's a
Yeah, but
certain
that's
amount of that, but
quite a bit different though.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of
uh,
custom changes and stuff in there.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it can be hard to take two completely different formats of things and
Marry
And
them
mash them up.
together.
marry
Yeah.
them. Yeah, sometimes it works, but not very often. Not as often as I can,
Yeah.
think of off the top of my head. To be honest. So let's see. Ooh, let's see what Zach says here in the chat. He's discovered Starfinder recently. Excited to learn. He's got friends who play D&D. Another friend who plays World of Darkness. Very cool. Which of the properties in World of Darkness, or is it a mashup? I used to run a mashup game. I quite enjoyed that.
I suppose it's also worth mentioning which edition. Is it Old World, New World, or like the newest world that they currently are putting out right now?
I was Old World. First
I
edition
re-
books.
I played Old World and New World.
I looked through one of the books a few years ago. I was probably during the beginning of the plague because I wanted something to read that looked interesting, and I wanted to see what they were doing with Werewolf. It was always my favorite of the World of Darkness games, and it was really different, like really different. But from the sounds of what I've seen online, a lot of the newer versions are a little bit closer to what the old versions were. He is playing Vampire the Masquerade. And I slipped into Warhammer 40k. Was pulled the Tau Empire minis. I'm not sure which ones those are. I'm only vaguely familiar with 40k.
The
Though
Tau, I know the Tau.
I almost got sucked into playing Dark Eldar way back in the day, back in 1998. I was going to get together with a friend and buy that, and I had
That is the
half, three-quarters of a Dark Eldar armory, maybe. I had a set painted up as Imperial Royal Guard from Star Wars, and the commander I chose was going to be a generic commander, so I could just get a regular Eldar commander miniature and paint it up like Darth Vader, and all the rest of my troops were painted like stormtroopers.
that's about the time I first saw 40K and was tempted to get into it. Fortunately, I couldn't because I didn't have money, but I was looking at Eldar pretty hard. Not dark though.
Yeah, they look neat. I like the look of their miniatures. They've
Hmm.
always had very very interesting look to them. He says recommends Armor Core 6 if you want an action mecha game. Is that a video game or is that a role playing game?
Oh yeah.
That is a video
It is
game.
Oh, okay.
I've
yeah.
not my flavor.
No, okay. I don't play a whole lot of video
Yeah,
game,
I've been able
a
to
lot of
play it, but
Battlefront.
that's something I definitely want to try out. I like the look of it.
He says there's lots of customization available in it. So that sounds kind of neat. I enjoy games like that where you can build your mecha out and swap out parts. I played one of the front mission games way back in the day on PS2. I had fun with that, but I don't play so many video games these days. I'm not so good with the multiplayer. I get killed way too easily. My roommate and I play the survival missions on Battlefront 1 so that we don't have to play against real people.
Well, I mean
Understandable.
that is
Shooters are
coming
not
up.
my thing.
That is coming up again. They're re-releasing the old Battlefronts for the Switch, so that's going to be pretty cool to play again.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I saw an ad for that the other day. The original Battlefronts too, aren't they? From the
Yeah,
PS4.
Battlefront 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. We played the PS4 editions or edition, so it looks prettier, but you don't have the options of playing clones. And honestly, the old ones were kind of neat. Each edition of the game had something a little bit different in it. I found that was really neat, and then the next edition wouldn't have it. The old
Yeah.
Galactic Conquest game that you could do and go from planet to planet, fight for
Yeah.
control of the galaxy kind of thing, which was really neat. I enjoyed that. And then that went away. And the new Battlefront had survival missions, which were great. I loved that. Fighting off waves of bad guys, escorting your walk along. Awesome. Battlefront 2, not anymore. But you got
Yeah,
a
that's true.
solo game in there, which was neat too. That was new and interesting. Gave me Inferno Squadron and let me fly Saint Marana and Gideon Hask and almost every Imperialist I put on the table.
Yeah, that's true. That was definitely nice to have like a fairly decent story mode where they could expand on the actual lore. And the best part about it was having the Imperial Raider show up in the game, like not too long after I actually bought it in real life.
Yep.
Um, and that was really cool to see.
It
Yep,
was
yep.
it was designed for the video game, and then X-wing said, "Hey, let's grab that." Or
Actually,
sorry,
nope,
it
it
was
was the
designed.
other way
Yeah, it was
around.
designed for X-wing. Yes, you're
It's the other way
Yep,
around.
yep.
yeah, that's right. They
Yeah,
designed it
yeah,
for X-wing. But yeah, I remember thinking the same thing when it showed up. That's right. That is. It's like holy crap, that's the Raider. I like that about Lucasfilm. So occasionally let people go, okay, what do you want to do with our property? Oh, that looks really neat. Yeah, okay, you can do that. And then let's use
Mhm.
it and let these guys use it too, because that's really cool. Not all their decisions
yeah,
have worked out for them, but people have gotten way too crabby and critical about everything in life. When it comes to things like X-wing and Star Wars and stuff, I just want to enjoy it. It's Space Wizards and Laser Swords.
yeah,
Is that on the big screen in front of me? I'm cheering in my seat. It's I didn't complain about the new movies. I just went and had fun because there were space wizards and laser swords and X-wings flying around and stuff blowing up, and you got to see Red 5 again. And it was fun. It may not have been great, but always accepted the fact that Star Wars isn't great cinema. It's never been great cinema. It's cinema that resonates, and it's a lot of fun. But I mean, it started out as movies for kids, and a lot of it continues to be movies for kids, despite people not wanting it to be and denying the fact that they are. Some of the stuff hasn't been. I mean, Andor in particular was not for kids. It was definitely adults
yeah.
X-wing or adults Star Wars. Can you say I've got X-wing on the brain? Um, but I mean, it's something there to have fun with. I watch almost all the Star Wars stuff that comes out, not all of it. Um, I haven't watched all the Visions stuff. I should sit down and watch those one of these days because I quite enjoy animation. There's just so much stuff going on in the world
Yeah.
and in life and everything I'm doing. I don't have time for that. Much as I sit in front of YouTube all the time, but I watch a lot of Starfinder content. Not that there's a whole lot, but there's a few channels that have a good catalog.
So, how excited are you for Starfinder 2.0?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of low key looking for an opportunity to play in a 2e Pathfinder game, so that I can get a feel for the system before I actually start picking it up for Starfinder. But I'm looking forward to the playtest coming out this summer, so that I can get
Yep,
my
yep.
hands on that and actually I'll probably sit down and put together a homebrew game on another night and invite some of you guys in to have some fun with that and see how it feels. Um,
Yeah, at that
I'm
point, I might enjoy Starfinder system-wise.
Yeah, it's yeah, I can appreciate it. Feels a little bit clunky compared to the 2e stuff, just from what I've watched of the 2e stuff. And it's amazing how the little changes make a big difference. Like even
Mhm.
playing D&D 3.5 or playing Starfinder, they're basically the same structure, generally
Yep.
speaking. There's a few little things here and there
That's why I
that are
can't
different.
stand it.
But yeah, it even running it now feels clunky. Um, it makes me want to pull out my Pathfinder second edition book and actually read the rules of it and play that instead of D&D for my home game. Uh, and I think when 2E comes out for Starfinder, I'm going to start a game at the local store. They wanted me to run a game for them a few years ago when Starfinder was coming out, and I'm the guy in town who they just have a standing order when Starfinder releases something new. They order me one and say, "Here you go, Darren, your stuff's in. Darren, your stuff's in. We got you both issues of the comic. Which one do you want? We got you both issues.
Indeed.
We got you the regular copy of the new Adventure Path, Scoured Stars, but we also got the special edition leather bound cover with the two silk page markers and stuff in it, just in case you want that." I said, "Yeah, okay.
Uh, sure,
You
yes.
spent the money to bring that in, so I'll buy that. I'll put that on my shelf. The other one's still on the shelf there, so in another month I may pick it up, just to pick it up and put the regular one on the shelf with my stuff, so that it looks all uniform. Because this one looks out of place." But yeah, I mean, I don't mind splurging on stuff like that. One of my old gaming friends runs a game publishing company, DSX Machina Games, in town. Published Ultramodern 5, which is a modern science fiction toolbox book for 5th edition. So if you want to run a mecha game or a sci-fi game or a modern day, action and adventure kind of game, he's got a great rule set for that. And he's got a few different settings that he's put out, and I've ordered a couple of his sets that I've got some artwork. I don't know if the camera's going to focus in on him, the affinity stuff. He recently put out a box set of 3 settings uh, that are all completely different settings, but they're all linked together somehow. I haven't finished reading through it all. My eyes aren't good for reading small print anymore. But beautiful, beautiful work. And I love the special edition stuff. Ever since I saw that, I went, "Ooh, yeah, okay, I'll splurge a little bit and get the really super fancy stuff. That looks really cool." I'm getting older. I'm
That's awesome.
splurging more on my gaming stuff because I'm not buying as much. X-Wing doesn't release product as regularly as they used to, so I don't have to sit down and go, "How much money do I have to spend on X-Wing this month?" Guess
That is
what?
true.
I don't have to buy 3 more
Yeah.
models or 6 more models, or, "Oh, I really like flying this, but I need 2 more of them." I don't find myself doing that quite so much anymore.
AMG has definitely been good for my wallet.
Yep, yep. I can't argue that. Armada too. I mean, FFG was good for that too. Even back before I started playing Armada, they were good. They only released one every year or two, at least for the last little while. I splurged on my Republic fleet, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think I got everything except the last wave of Armada before I moved on. But yeah, like having that big break allows you to just catch up with everything. Because for a while, with all those waves coming in, you were buying like 6 different ships at one point.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, it's nice.
absolutely. Yeah, especially when 3.0 came out. Okay, I need these guys for the Republic stuff, and I need to buy a new arc, damn it. And I want 2 of these sets, and one of these, and the conversion kits. That was our gaming store was great. They held a end of 1.0 tournament, and I mean it was a $30 entry fee, but that $30 entry fee got you the conversion kit of your choice. So we made 20 bucks walking out of the store. And we got to play
Yay.
a day's worth
Yeah.
of 1.0, which, admittedly was unfortunately a day's worth of 1.0, but it was still X-Wing. It was fun. I was pushing little plastic
Yeah,
spaceships around
exactly.
with a big giant mouse pad, blowing stuff up with dice. So,
Yeah.
but we're closing in on the 9 o'clock mark for me, the midnight mark for you folks. So
Indeed.
we should
I just
probably.
want to tell Zachryax,
Oh,
feel free to play Starfinder, but I would definitely wait to purchase anything until 2E comes out.
yeah. When it comes to mechanics, if you go to look up the Archive of Nethys, aonsrd.com, it has all of the mechanical rules for Starfinder available for free. It's a website sponsored by Paizo. They sponsor the people that do the work on it, and it is currently up to date with everything that has been released so far for the game. The only stuff you won't really find on there is lore. Um, there's a few of the books that are largely lore. Near Space, um, Packed Worlds, and Ports of Call are largely lore books. And if you want to minimize what you're purchasing that way, pick up those. Maybe an adventure path if you're interested in running that. Second edition won't be out for another year and a half. The playtest is being released this summer. But, if you want lore, Packed Worlds, I'm going to say, picking a number out of the air, 80% of it is lore. There's a little bit of mechanics in the back. Um, but the rest of the books, some of them, The Armory, Tech Revolution, Starship Operations, one of the other Interstellar Species. Some of those ones are almost entirely mechanics. So if you don't want to pick those up, don't pick them up. All that stuff's available for free online. And honestly, I own all the books. But when I'm working on a game, I'm often, because I run online, I'm often working in front of the computer. And the Archive of Nethys is just handy. Even when I'm sitting on the couch and I want to look something up, I'll look it up in the Archive of Nethys because I don't want to have to search through 12 books to find what I'm looking for. Um, so, if you're looking to save money but still look into the Starfinder setting and have some fun with it, you can do a lot of that for free. That's a good catch there, Catherine. Thank you. I hadn't looked at that for a minute. But I think that's where
Yeah.
we will wrap it up for this evening. JJ and Catherine, thank you for joining us. Zach,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thanks for hanging out in the chat, chatting with us a little bit. And hopefully, episode 7 of Drift Crashers will air in this time slot in 2 weeks. Failing that, maybe I'll have another episode of the Northern BC Gamer and discuss other topics with myself or anybody else who might feel like joining us. But if you folks enjoy this kind of content, enjoy podcasts of actual plays of adventure paths, discussions of gaming, campaign journals, that kind of thing, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the future. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.